All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your morning dose of the power of love, but possibly not as you might have remembered it from Back to the Future, because this is basically the song except sped up like a couple of times, so to say. Anyway, welcome to the NES game Back to the Future, a game that's sort of legendary for having a certain status of being a bad game, and well, for some reason I decided to speedrun it a while back, and here we are. I'm showing it to you all at ESA Together. I'm looking forward to showing it off, so yeah, let's just hop into it, and I'll tell you all about it. Time starts as soon as I start getting control of my character, which is gonna be right now. So yeah, we obviously play as Marty McFly. Most of this game is an autoscroller, and we just try to not get hit. That's the basic thing, really. In the meantime, we collect a couple of things. We collect these clocks in order to keep the time running. We have this bowling ball that we can shoot at enemies, and that can hopefully keep ourselves going as well. But most importantly, there's going to be an item that's coming up very soon, if I don't get hit. That was really close. The skateboard, because you know it's Back to the Future and we want to go fast. So ideally we would keep this setup for the duration of the entire run. And if we do this very well and we don't get hit by anything, it will be a low 17-minute run. So that's sort of the dream that I usually try to go for. I've gotten it once at some point, but it's really hard, but you'll see that soon enough, probably. So yeah, there's gonna be a couple of levels where I just try to go through this level, and I also try to avoid these bees. The best way to get rid of these bees is by just sticking to the bottom of the screen, and ideally on the sides, so you can despawn them really quickly. Otherwise they're gonna circle around you, and that's gonna be really bad if that were to happen. Especially if there are more bees, it's gonna be really hard to get rid of them. It's gonna be much more clutch. So you see these enemies. You've got these enemies with hula hoops, and you've got these enemies in shirts who throw what looks like beads at you or something, or as we in the community like to call it, sweats, as if everything is enemy sweat or something. Enemy sweating at you. Just imagine that. It's just weird. But yeah, this is a weird game. So I try to avoid these as much as possible, and seeing how hitboxes can turn out to be, it can be a pretty tough situation from time to time. Also, these cracks that what you saw on, those are also pretty scary. So I try to avoid those. You see these oil stains on the floor? Those aren't as bad. They're just slippery, but they don't hit you or anything. So that's pretty good. Alright, as you can tell on the map, I'm getting very close to one of the buildings. Each building basically represents a, I guess, minigame of sorts. So upcoming we have a diner, and we'll be doing some things there. I'll show that as we get there. First gonna collect some clocks, once more. I basically want to try and not shoot any clocks, I guess, or at least try to keep that running, because this game for some reason has two timers. You see those portraits at the bottom, those represent a timer, and you've also got the regular timer that you see on the bottom right screen. And for the first three parts of the game, the portraits are very necessary, because if they fade out, if you don't pick up enough time, then you will also die, regardless of what the other timer says. Alright, so now we are at the diner, and we're gonna throw milkshakes at bullies, because that's just like the movie, I think. I mean, I've seen the movie, it's been ages ago, but I'm pretty sure there was a diner in there somewhere, and there were probably milkshakes, so I'm pretty sure this is accurate. So you try not to get caught by any of the bullies. If that happens, you have to replay the previous level before you can get back here, so that can be pretty tough in that sense. And what I try to do also is throw in a certain line, starting usually from the top, going down to the bottom, but it kind of depends where the enemies appear as well, so sometimes I alternate a little bit and try to shoot all the way, and as soon as I've created more space, I'm just gonna start from the top again, just creating a line of sorts. So after around 25 or 30, you see this waitress appear. Usually what you also have is a super milkshake of sorts, which allows you to get out of somewhat hairy situations where there are many bullies on screen and you're about to get caught. You have one in your inventory by default, but you can get an extra one if the waitress brings it to you. But in this case, we usually wait for the we usually try not to get there. What the game doesn't tell you is that you only have to deal 50 hits before passing the level. You can get up to 99, but 50 is the bare minimum required for this game. So that brings us to the second part. There's more autoscrollers. It's probably a good time for a couple of donations or some info if you have that.
Of course, I have some info. As you see, you're watching ESA Together 2020. And what's the better way to celebrate ESA than having some cool shirts from ESA's merch that you can buy on speedrunstore.com. As I already mentioned, I have one of them and it's really cool. I'm actually considering buying another one, and I have to say, these are really, really great. So definitely check them out if you want some shirts or a hoodie, because there's a hoodie too with a nice logo. ESA merch on speedrunstore.com. Check them out.
Merch is cool. I can definitely recommend. So yeah, these are mostly similar levels. In a certain way, it becomes a bit more difficult in a sense. Mostly because the timer gradually gets tighter. Although it's not as bad over here, but usually the thing is, if you wind up getting hit at some points or multiple times, it becomes much more difficult to complete the level because, oh, there we go, got our first hit. So that's gonna be rip my PB, because in my current PB I didn't get hit by anything and I got a 17-minute 10 on the leaderboards. Oh, I got hit again. Okay, this is... So now you see the true colors of this game, I guess, where suddenly enemies start behaving in certain ways, and you know, there's still bees and everything. So that's still a thing that can happen too. You can sort of get rid of enemies and they can still sort of throw projectiles as they're about to leave the screen, and that can still be really surprising. So no matter if you stand to the bottom, it can still happen. So what now needs to happen is I have to basically keep myself alive, I guess. And I have to make sure not to hit anything until we see the bowling ball. Usually it takes about 30 seconds for the bowling ball to appear. And then we have to wait another 30 seconds for the skateboard to appear. And that is if we don't lose our ball to attack with. So you can understand how that can be pretty tricky. You're suddenly very vulnerable in this case, and I just have to maneuver and make sure that I keep myself alive somehow. There we go, there's a skateboard. It's sometimes a thing that those skateboards tend to appear in pretty bad spots, that they're really hard to grab, like behind a fence or something, and you have to instantly jump over those fences after you grab the skateboard. So you'd rather not want to see that, but like I said, ideally you wouldn't want to get through here as hitless as possible. And as you can see now, the portraits have been faded out a little bit, so I have to collect the clocks in order to restore that. So just gonna collect a few more clocks. Just do that. Maneuver here. In the community we have devised certain names for these enemies, like the hula hoop enemies we call Sheila, and the dudes in shirts we call Henry. So you know, you got Henry, you got Sheila, and everybody is trying to throw sweat at you, I guess. Alright, with that said, that's the end of this part of Autoscrollers. We now go to high school and we try to break Lorraine's heart, or at least try to break these hearts. I'm gonna be silent for a bit, I think, because this can be a bit scary to do. So I'll explain more afterward. Let's see, go over here. I'm gonna keep an eye out on the number on the right side of the screen also. There we go. Head down. There we go. Okay, so once again we had to get to 50. In this case it's not points, but it's seconds. You have to basically dodge those hearts for 50 seconds on end. Which I didn't realize until recently, but it's also because it's really tight. It almost seems like you're catching 2 hearts per second or something, and that seemed to correspond pretty well as well. But yeah, ideally you would want to see Lorraine move in a certain way that it's very easy to just you know, tap up and down, and you don't have to do as much, and otherwise it's gonna be harder to coordinate, I guess. So you saw a couple of instances of that. Okay, now we are on to part 3, I guess. It's mostly levels that look like this. I'm guessing this is where the sun starts to set again, and it's almost about to get dark, but I'm not sure really. So we slowly head to the dance. So yeah, like I said, I was mentioning before, if you get the hitless run, you would get a lower 17-minute time. My current PB is 17 minutes and 10 seconds, and I have a shared second place with one of my good friends, NPC, who also has the same time. The current world record is by NES by NES Cardinality, who has a 17:03, and at the time when he was doing the speedrun, he was actually grinding for this pretty hard, and at some point he was doing like an 8-hour stream just to grind for the perfect RNG and get that 17:03. And especially with the diner scene, that's where a lot of the RNG can be seen. But also, you know, with enemies, you know, the way they respond, you just have to really anticipate it. And I have to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the exact layout is of these levels. I just play it as I see it on screen, really. Although I've got a couple of visual cues that I usually remember, like, oh yeah, this is the last level before we get to this next part and such and such. So yeah, just basically that. At least we're still on the part where we can still afford a couple of deaths before we won't be able to reach the finish. Oh, by the way, if you jump over the finish line, so to say, you will get an extra bonus, which is going to be slower for the speedrun. Like, it adds up a little bit, but yeah, you shouldn't do that. You should just stick to the ground if you want to speedrun this. It's like a tiny difference, but still, you know, every difference counts. Ooh, that was really scary. You should imagine that if you're on a pace like I was during my PB, and then try to do sections like that, that can be incredibly scary. Really have to be on your best, really. Try to get past all that. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I should be getting to the next minigame. In the meantime, I hope you all enjoyed I hope you all enjoy this version of The Power of Love. But now it's time for Johnny Be Good. We go to the dance, and we have to pick up these musical notes. And this is a way less punishing game than the first two. In this case, if you miss one, then it doesn't instantly send you back to the previous level. But it's also pretty easy overall. You just pick up these naturals, these sharps, and these flats. You just have to be in the right position, so it's a lot more forgiving that way, I feel. It's a nice change of pace too. Just rocking out to Johnny Be Good, Shuffle Please in Chat, Sour Please in Chat, I guess. Just like that. Rocking out. Alright. That was pretty much ideal. Usually when I have 134 in the timer, I know that it's good, but yeah, it didn't miss a single hit, so, you know, there we go. Okay, and now we go into the last part, and this is where you really need to keep everything together. Any hit here can be pretty bad. So I'm just gonna go through here. The funny thing is I don't have to collect these clocks anymore for some reason. I could just shoot them. So in a certain way I'd liken this to being a shmup section for some reason. You just hold down the fire button, just go through it, hope to not get hit, because that still can happen. You still have to be very careful, but in a certain way, there's one worry less. Alright, as I go through these levels, I think it's a good time for some more donations or info, if you have that.
Of course, I just want to say that a great way to support ESA, not only by donating, not only by watching or subscribing or cheering, because you can do that too, you know, wink wink, is just telling people about it. We host multiple speedrun events throughout the year and we are constantly growing. Don't let people get left behind, get them on board with ESA and tell them about us, especially when you're out with your families, with your friends, maybe not in person because stay at home, but if you're contacting them because of the Easter time, you can just tell them about ESA because we still have 1 day to go and other marathons coming, so yeah, keep the info going.
Yeah, it's getting pretty close, and yeah, stay at home, but also be sure to watch, because there's a lot of stuff still coming up, some really good runs coming up still. Alright, so in the meantime we're getting through these levels. We're slowly heading up towards the final section. As you might have guessed, that is going to be with the DeLorean, so I'm going to give that one away, but I'm not going to say much beyond that. So I'm just going to shoot everything still. I mean, this is basically what you want to do in the beginning, but you couldn't because, you know, you need those clocks, but now you don't need them anymore. I'm also not sure why they put them here in this specific part, except for, you know, if you want to go for maximum score count or something, but because it still adds up to the score. But besides that, you don't really need them anymore. So let's see, got a couple of this. Oh, damn, there we go. I think there's one more level after this. But it's going good so far. You have to imagine that if you would, yeah, like I said, if you lose everything, then you need at least like a minute to get everything back and get back to full speed. And as you can see, possibly the timer runs down really quickly as well, so, you know, that's a thing too. I have to be very careful here. And again, another instance of enemies sweating at you from beyond where they despawn. Or so it seems. Maybe they're just on the screen, I don't know. This is going pretty okay. No complaints here. I think we're getting pretty close to the end. Yep, this is getting there. Alright, so now we're getting to the final stage, and there's one more thing for us to do in order to get back to the future, and that is to ride the DeLorean and hit 88 miles per hour. And yeah, time is gonna be... I'm gonna avoid these spots. Time is gonna be as soon as I hit the power line, so get ready for that. Just gonna one-hand this one and see if I can get through here. Oh, I got hit by a bolt there. This is also RNG-like, by the way. You need to make sure not to get by anything ideally, but okay, let's go for the 88 miles per hour, shall we? Let's see. And time. There we go. 88 miles per hour. We did it. We made it back to the future. Congratulations, Marty. You've made it back. All your time travel is behind you now. Maybe. That sounds like they're gonna make a sequel to this or something. Like, maybe there's like a... Maybe there was enough potential for a third movie even, who knows. But yeah, anyway, I saw that I had a... Well, I got a sub 18 actually, that's really good. That's one of my better times. So before I got the 1710, I had the 1730, but it really comes down to getting hit as few times as possible, and that was probably my best marathon performance of this so far, so I'm really happy with this time. But yeah, that was Back to the Future in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed the Power of Love. I hope you were rocking out to this tune, because it will never leave your brain, I'm pretty sure. I have no regrets whatsoever. But yeah, thanks to, I want to do a couple of shoutouts really. I want to do shoutouts to a couple of friends of mine with whom I've been doing this as a 4-way race, namely Brasencha, Kowal, Lazy, and NPC. We were doing this run a couple of times for other marathons for shenanigans really, and so it's been a fun time, so shoutouts to them. And yeah, also shoutouts to my family, some of them might be watching, in which case, hi. And yeah, finally also thanks again to ESA Together for letting this run, and it's been quite a surprise, but I've been very happy to show this off for you all, and I hope you all enjoyed. And I think up next is gonna be Manic Miner, so we're still gonna be the same era in terms of games, I guess. So have fun with that, have fun with the rest of Marathon, stay safe, be sure to keep donating, it's for a good cause. And yeah, that's it for me. Enjoy. I'll see you around. Have fun. Take care.